2,300 years ago, Alexander the Great invaded Asia, his goal to conquer the Persian Empire. We followed in his footsteps, a 20,000-mile journey from Greece to the plains of India. In the third year of the war, Alexander marched into Egypt. There, at the Oracle of Siwa, he was proclaimed Son of God, a true pharaoh. Now he turned his gaze towards Persia.
Okay.
Name?
My name is Wood.
Wood.
Wood. Family name Wood.
Yes.
First name Michael.
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 Michael Reed.
Yeah. Thank you. Now I'm in Kurdistan.
Our journey now led us into northern Iraq, free Kurdistan. Our plan was to follow Alexander's route eastwards towards the site of his decisive battle with the Persian king Darius, the Lord of Asia. The people here were still hanging on to their precarious independence from the Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein. We were now on one of the great travel routes of history. This was once the Persian Royal Road, later part of the Silk Route, which joined the Mediterranean with China. It's been fought over for 5,000 years. Beyond the mountains, the road comes down to a wide plain where the battle was fought. Darius had already been defeated at Issus. His wife and family were Alexander's prisoners, and he now staked everything on a battle near the town of Gaugamela. We stopped for water near where Alexander must have camped that September. When Alexander came here, the 50-degree summer heat was dying down. As it turned out, this was as close as we could get to the site of the battle. Tantalizingly, it was only a few miles to the south of us, out there on the flat plain of Kurdistan. But it lay beyond the front line of Saddam Hussein's Iraqi army and was out of reach.
Okay, gentlemen, the area you're going to be flying over today. Saddam Hussein's got troop concentrations basically here in Kirkuk and also Al-Masil. His troops are also running down a line between the two cities, roughly along
The British and Americans running Operation Provide Comfort over Kurdistan offered to help out, for Alexander and Darius met on what today's military analysts still see as a fault line of history.
God, it's amazing, isn't it, how these strategic kind of places stay important through history.
It is.
Alexander the Great, when he came, his army moved in from this side, and they came down here in this gap. And the Persian army came up from Erbil, up here, and just in that gap there, there's this hill called the Jabal Maqlub, which is about 3,500 feet, just rises straight out of the plain. And that's where they met. So that must be almost on your front line, I guess.
Almost exactly. The line is running right along there.
Estimated Mike Uniform Tango 1-1.
Are you talking about this?
Ready, Roger, and we're able I'll provide escort before Mike Uniform Tango.
All tower it is.
Uniform Tango 4 any return.
On the AWACS screens, we saw the current military situation over northern Iraq. Then the crew fed in what was known to Alexander's intelligence experts in September 331 BC.
Can you bring up the rivers and things like that?
The rivers certainly are under this one here.
Right.
The rivers and the mountains come up together.
Okay, so this is the Tigris, is it?
That is correct.
Yeah, and the Great Zab.
That is correct.
Yeah. So, can you show us Mosul and Erbil?
Certainly.
Alexander probably crosses the Tigris about the 15th, between the 15th and the 20th. It would have taken them several days.
Right.
On the night of the 20th, there was an eclipse, which stopped them in their tracks for a moment until the army seers told them it was a good omen. And then they sighted the Persians probably about the 25th, the scouts did, and they rested for 4 days. Darius had moved up through Erbil probably about the 18th of September, crossed the Great Zab about the 23rd. So can you go in closer on it?
Certainly.
Look.
Onto the battle area.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put the battle area into the middle of the screen and go.
This is the moment on which Alexander's career stands or falls. His army's heavily outnumbered by the Persians, and now almost completely surrounded, but he knew that this would happen. In fact, he wanted it to happen. His plan was that his wings would hold the Persians off for long enough to see a gap open in the Persian line, through which Alexander could push with his companion cavalry to hit Darius himself. Everything depended on the discipline of the Macedonian troops, on each unit carrying out its instructions, even if they couldn't see a thing that was going on around them. And it also depended on the incredible nerve of Alexander himself, who was still only 25.
Darius's greatest army was crushed. He fled back into Iran, and with that defeat, said the historian Plutarch, the power of the Persian Empire was seen to be completely overthrown. Alexander advanced swiftly into Iraq. Babylon surrendered. Late November, he marched on Darius's winter capital, Susa. The invasion of Persia had begun. Mid-December, he reached the Karkay River near Susa, just inside today's Iranian border. I'd brought with me an intelligence map made for the British invasion of this region in the First World War.
Alexander wasn't traveling into an unknown country. Greeks had journeyed and worked in Persia for centuries before his day, and a huge amount of information would have been available. And no doubt the Macedonian general staff sent their agents into Persia to prepare intelligence dossiers on the roads and distances into the interior, maybe even maps like this, mapping all the details that an army would need to know. Which fords were fordable by an army with heavy equipment, where the rivers were impassable, where there were navigable waterways, where there were camping grounds, where you could find good water and where the water was undrinkable. And here, marked on this map of 1915, is the ancient royal road from Babylon to Susa, running all the way across this landscape and down to Susa, Alexander's destination. It reminds us of that tale of young Alexander, the 10-year-old boy talking to Persian ambassadors back home in the Macedonian court and asking them about the details of the distances of the journey into the heart of Persia. That boy certainly knew where he was going.